budget. We actually start off with the proposed expenditure budget, okay, for the district. And what I need everyone here is the last 2 school years as well as the proposed school years. So we've got 3 columns. So right now, initially, and right out of the gate, like I said, this is tentative, just proposed budget. It's subject to changes. The proposed budget we're looking at is about $211,245,013. That represents right out of the gate about $7,663,306 increase, which is 3.6%. The following pieces of this presentation on this page are line items to show how we will, or how we plan to pay for that proposed budget. So I have proposed revenues. The first line item that I have is called other miscellaneous revenue. And as you see, that's about $5,585,000. The second item is called our appropriated fund balance. And I listed in parentheses there literally how much money we have in the bank account for our appropriated fund balance. This happens to be about $10,112,000 change. This current proposed budget, we would be applying at that $10 million number about $8,889,000 to make this budget work. So I highlighted that number in yellow because I feel it's a very important number, and it's really one of the only flexible numbers there. 10 million I mentioned, we're already appropriating $8,800,000. So that number can go up, can go down, depending on the actual total budget. The third line is going to start with many of us refer to as our reserves. So we have several different reserve accounts in the district. The first one is called the Worker Compensation Reserve. That's a balance of $5,930,000. The school district is self-insured for worker compensation injuries and claims. So any claims made by employees who are injured on the job, we are responsible for the first $600,000 of any claim, and after that we have an insurance policy that kicks in. So here, we're only allowed to take out of the reserve the amount of money that we actually budgeted. So our budget calls for $1.9 million, and we're actually appropriating $1,900,000 out of the reserve. Next, we have what's called the Employee Benefit Accrued Liability Reserve. It's commonly known by an acronym as EWA. It is $10,341,000 in that reserve, and that is mainly for our employees. If they have a sick, vacation, or personal time they accrue upon retirement, would be allowed to get paid out according to their respective contract. So out of the $10 million that's in that reserve, we've only allocated $850,000 out of that reserve because that's what we expect our expense to be. We don't really have a significant number of employees who are retiring. At least we estimate not a significant amount. The following line for reserve is called the Employee Retirement System Reserve, also known as ERS. That reserve is for contributions that the district is obligated to make towards the employees' retirement system. And when I say employees, that's non-instructional. So non-teacher, non-administrator. That's mostly our clerical, transportation, food service, facilities, and grounds. Expect the expense to be. Next line is the Teachers Retirement System Reserve, commonly known as TRS. obviously, just by its name, that's for our teachers and most of the administrative staff, directors, principals. That reserve has a little over $3 million in it, and we are anticipating having to take $1,492,000 out of that reserve because that's the expense component. Self-insured for unemployment claims. So anytime we have an employee who leaves the district and they're entitled to unemployment benefits, we have to pay those reserves dollar for dollar. That reserve has about $600,000 in it, and we are expecting the unemployment expense to be $500,000 in the following school year. The last reserve we have is called the Debt Service Fund. So every time we borrow money via a bond for a capital project, as an example, if there are monies left over from that project that we haven't spent, we are allowed to use those leftover monies to make a principal or an interest payment on the actual bond. We only have $14,249,000 in there, and at the moment, we are not anticipating using any of that because we still have some open items on some ongoing projects. And then last, for revenue, is our state aid that we get from New York State. We get a little over $55 million is what the governor has proposed. We make an adjustment on that aid because of our universal free kindergarten program. As the money comes in from that state aid payment, we have to transfer a little over $1 million for our UPK program over to a special fund, or our special aid fund that we make. So right now, the net number for state aid that we're expecting is about $53,936,000. Typically, the New York State Legislature advises school districts by March 31st of the final state aid number. In the past, that has typically been higher than what the governor has proposed. So we are optimistic that when we hear that number in the next few weeks, it should be higher than what the governor has advised. So right now, when you hit the budget is proposed to be at $211 million, and you subtract the revenues that we anticipate of about $75,927,000, it brings you to the amount of money that we would need to raise from the resident taxpayers, residential, commercial, to actually pay for the budget. So the tax cap in New York State, which is calculated by the Office of the State Controller, has advised the district that the maximum we are allowed to raise the following school year is $135,317,509. Okay, so right now, if we were to go to the max, the tax cap, that would represent a 2.32 increase to the Connecticut community in terms of real estate taxes, just for the school. So as you can see, the following line, it says total revenues. Okay, the total revenues equal the total budget. So in a sense, we have a balanced budget here. I just want to explain a little bit so that the board and the public understands how this may affect each particular community resident. So the Connecticut community as a whole has an assessed valuation that's about $689 million. Each particular homeowner or commercial business in the area is assigned part of that assessed value. When we break that value, that assessed value down by the 100, it comes out to about $19.63 is what we estimate. Okay? And here's where it can get a little confusing because, I'm going to show you, put on the next slide. I'm going to just go back and forth. This is a one particular resident of the Connecticut community's residential real estate tax bill. Okay? So when we talk about a school district budget, we talk about how much is that actually going to cost the average taxpayer, we have to be very careful that we are all looking really at this document, because the assessed value for any particular residence or any particular commercial building in the Connecticut School District is assigned a assessed value. And the other thing we have to be careful of is we have to look at what the exemptions are on that particular piece of property. So, just as an example, if you go back to the second one slide, please. So at the very bottom here, what I did is I broke out the cost for a home that's assessed at $10,000 assessed value, a home that's assessed at $30,000, and a home that's assessed at $50,000. And I carried it all the way over so that you could see how much, just estimating the school taxes would be based on this budget. It comes out to about a 2.25% increase. However, you have to be careful, like I said, when you look at the actual real estate tax bills, that we look at the exemptions, because there are homes that have, for example, a $40,000 assessed value, but if you look at each of the exemptions, it could be the Star Enhanced, could be, there's kind of like there's an age exemption, as well as a veterans exemption, but 3 examples. That those exemptions could significantly lower the assessed value of a piece of property, and that particular person would pay a lot less in school taxes than someone who has the same assessed value with either no exemptions or less exemptions. All right, next slide, and one more, please. What I did here is probably have close to 2,000 line items in our budget, and over the last month, we've met with all of the department chairs. We've met with each of the building, the administrators, to come up with each of their budgets and assembled a budget, like I said, 2,000 line items. So what I did here is I took all that information and I condensed it down to 2 pages. And what I also did is I showed the largest increase first, all the way down to where there are 0 increases, and then also if you go further, you can see in parentheses, you'll see budget line items that have actually been reduced. Okay? So just as an example here, the first line that's up there, it says hospital, medical, and dental insurance. We're showing a $4,308,419 increase, which is about 14.7%. Okay? That's somewhat in line with what I mentioned a little earlier, with the 12% increase we're experiencing. Let me just got into it. And then I flowed this through all the way down, okay, so that when you get to the second page, so just remember it says, okay, when you go all the way down, what I've actually done is a circle that the total budget is $211 million. And then to the right of that number, I showed the actual increase. I feel this is important because we're going to, at any point, take a look at the budget and possibly try to reduce it. It helps to know where some of the increases, significant increases, at least are coming from, as well as the accounts that don't have any increase. And, okay, thank you. So now what we get into is the 17 pages that make up each individual line item of our budget. And the far column to the right, anything that has a 10% and a $1,000 increase, we provided an explanation for. There are many different codes here, and I'm just going to give some examples as we go through. So, just numerically, the way we follow the New York State system of accounting rules, the first code just happens to be the Board of Education. Okay? That's made up of supplies and materials, travel, conferences, and training, seminars, memberships, and also any type of services that we use to those. So I'm just highlighting this because it's the first account that comes up, and I think it's important we just understand how these numbers flow. So the Board of Education, for example, we estimate that total budget to be $49,266. Okay, that's actually a reduction of $4,130, or I believe 7.73%. Okay? And like I said, any item that's decreased 10% or more than positive or negative $1,000, we provide an explanation for it. Okay? So this is very detailed, very transparent. It's got every single account within the district. It's got a 2 prior year history as well as what the proposed budget has the dollar change and it has the percentage. So like I said, the 17 pages here. Do we want to go through each page and look at any particular items, or do we just want to open up discussion?
So you should say in the past, and the board was saying that, they're doing the same thing, is that I take a look on the digest, and then I sit at questions and discussions will be addressed in public. So this way, as no board member, if we have to ask the same questions, so we just think of the questions in our next board meeting, you can get the right answer. But I do have a question. I noticed that you, so from the appropriated fund balance, you're taking 8.8 with 8.9 from there. The budget is increased by 7.6. There's actually 50 more than the budget increased for. Can you explain more?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So when we experience decreases in the amount of money that we actually can take out of a reserve, for example, or when our state aid is not sufficient to keep up with the actual increase in the expenditures, we have to go elsewhere to try to, I'll say,
So
look at.
you're just doing it as a placeholder?
Correct.
Okay. So then my next question is, when we were discussing with last year, to fund the reserve, and we had how much overage, about 2 million, something like that, we only fund around 9 million from our reserve.
The surplus, or the priority, right?
Yeah. We had $2 million that was appropriated towards the fund balance. Now, I see here, if we, they've already said, Commissioner Bull, 8.8, 2.9, there was still $2 million in there that was supposed to be used, again, on the discretion of the board, and we put it back in the short capital reserve. And that we have to be like a vote in May to appoint that, or to elect that. Is that still an option?
Yes, that's still an option. I do want to highlight, that you're bringing up a very important thing. When we look at that appropriated fund balance, the $8 million number, what we're really doing is we are subsidizing, I'll use the word loosely here, we're actually subsidizing the
You
fund.
got it.
Right. And what we have to be careful is, can we sustain it? So if we're going to use $8 million, the following school year, where does that $8 million come?
Well, especially in the year prior, we used about 4.something million, and we basically doubled that amount, which is a concern. But I also understand, maybe that we should also put ourselves in a position where we had $15 million surplus. So I think we need to be mindful of that. One of the things, again, I'll look at, the weekend, 4.3, and health insurance is quite significant.
Yeah, the increase, yeah. I mean, we spoke about this a little bit earlier. Roughly now, the cost of a family health insurance plan for membership is about $33,000. So if you say, 10% alone is an increase per employee who has family health insurance of $3,000.
So it's 10% increase.
Yeah.
Again, if it works okay with the manager, it's some time, the negative
include ASL, robotics, virtual enterprise, and Connect Academy.
Sure, thank you. So Brian, Jackie, and myself were given the opportunity to go to high school and see the robotics, the Connect Academy, and virtual enterprise class, so I just wanted to talk to the community a little about them. So in the robotics class, we were able to see the students building the robot that they're going to be using in their competition this year. So the competition is done through First Robotics, and the teams receive a kit of parts, and they have to design, build, and program the robots to meet the challenge of the year. This year, they have to pick up balls and shoot them through hoops of various sizes and heights. So this year, the competition is going to be March 20th to 23 at Hampshire University. So this program is really cool. It was great to see the kids hands-on. They use innovative engineering, creative thinking, and teamwork. Give students an understanding of what goes on in an industry that is designing and building devices, as well as trial and error that happens when building and trying to achieve a device. So I think it's a great program. It should be built up a little bit more. I don't think a lot of people know about it. As far as the Connect One Academy, that's a specialized program that Connect One just implemented 2 years ago. It's selected to serve as graphic of children. Lori O'Hara does an amazing job at making it successful. We actually have other districts that look into our program, and we've even taken children from other districts for tuition. Courtney Hugan and Brian Delacurie are amazing with the children. They meet the needs of those kids, and it was just great and really wanted to see it. As far as virtual enterprise, so this is the senior level class that's a capstone class for the business department, and it's the last requirement for the Connect One Business Academy. The students take a NOCTI exam at the end of the year. Here the students imagine and bring to life a business. They collaborate a concept to come up with their idea for the business venture. They interview for positions within the company, for CEOs, COOs, VPs. They create divisions within the company, such as HR, marketing, sales, IT, accounting. So this year's company, they created a cookie company called Big Heaven, and the class works with other schools from across the country and the world to try to make sales and compete with them. So BE assigns various tasks throughout the year for the firm to compete for and grasp the business concept. And the virtual enterprise class teaches students various real-world business lessons that they continue to use in college and in their future careers. So these are just some of the amazing programs that can class, and I just wanted to highlight them.
Brian, do you want to take back on your opinion?
Oh, it's just nice to see. I know it's just high school, but programs that are there. I had really in high school, and I had no idea that this was going on there, so it's nice to see. But also with the first day that the kids, they showed students need to wear masks, so it was a nice experience to walk around high school with the kids smiling. You know, so and all the teachers involved, we have veterans support to it was just a great program all around. It was nice to see that, you know, as the kids come through, you know, our schools, you know, what they have to choose from there.
Jackie, do you want to take back your experience?
I have to say that my favorite activity is the virtual enterprise. They even gave us a box of goodies to take home. It was really, really nice. I also wanted to say about that class, after speaking to the teachers and the administrators, I wanted to advocate, which I told you I did, for us to have those children come in and do a presentation. Even if it's a community presentation, I think it would be a positive thing for the community to get to see how really exceptional this program is. Something I didn't even know, I had no idea that was in high school, and I couldn't believe how well versed they were in all of it. It was just unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And the other robotics was great. It reminded me of that show, the one I said to you guys at the Battle Box. I told the kids, I'm like, I feel like I'm in BattleBox, this is awesome. It was just great stuff to see. The Connect One Academy is really working to help kids. Excellent, just 3 excellent programs, I'm glad we got to see them.
Virtual enterprise is put in a nutshell is business. It's business. In our school, you walk into that classroom, you'll find a CEO, that Marisol mentioned, but if it's a true business, you know, they went to the real world appropriately and started a business. That's their responsibility through the whole year. Dealing with others, working on a computer. It really is an amazing program, and children know they want to go into business, or they know they don't want to go into business. I have to do it, they did a great job.
Also, just for this year's business class, you compete with other firms and businesses throughout the country and the nation, and our business class made it through round 2 into, they didn't get accepted into round 3, but they almost did. So huge accomplishment for them. Mr. Chaveras and Mr. Hussein did a great job there, so highly impressed. I would love to see them come and do a presentation also.
Can I just jump in one more secondly? We missed somebody, and I don't want to miss that, because that class is pretty cool too, the science research. I believe, I don't hope I say his name right, Mr. Halloran, excellent class. They were showing us one of the stuff they showed us, and it was really,
They got a kit from NASA, and they are creating a balloon to send up to test the bacteria in the air. Sorry, I don't forget that, but that was actually pretty cool. Being in the science field, that was actually interesting to see, so that was awesome.
And what I say, the security guard stopped me when I walked in the cafeteria, was doing his job, and my dad on and he kicked me out. Yeah, he's like, I don't care who you are, get out. Go ahead. So, good job.
we got you.
We move on to Dr. Dewey, and that would be me. He is, what is he, Linda, what is he? He's
I actually believe he's a neurologist or a psychologist. I'm not really sure what his degree is
I
at.
think he's a neurologist. Anyway, they offered a program this year, and it was poorly attended, mostly by staff and board members. And it is such a wonderful program. It educates parents and children about drugs, what it does to the brain, what could happen, how it functions. And he does it in a simple way that everyone would understand. And, you know, we've tried this a number of times in this district, and because we had it in high school, we had it on Zoom now, we had it another time, and it was poorly attended. But one of the most important things that parents should know. So we talked about where we could do it again, and they were talking about middle school was the best place to start. So I'm asking the board today to advocate, you know, a pizza party with parents and children in 6th grade. When the children get to 8th grade, they can watch it independently themselves, can come again, and then they can ask their questions. 6th grade, I don't think no one can ask what questions to ask. But I think we should get to the schools right away, because we do have a drug problem in every other district. And so I'm asking for consensus, if we can start this, not this year, beginning of next year, to have it in 6th grade, have it done, if it's a pizza party or something, to have the parents and the children come in and after school, and participate in this, it's like a lifelong experience, a lot of education done in a very informal way, and very understandable, and it's important, it really is important. So I'm going to ask Marisol.
You know, I agree. I think the program is great. I think that if we do it, we need to do a better job in promoting it and reminding the community about it. So I think that's what happens is people get lost in their lives and then they forget. So if we can send robocalls, reminders, or even an email reminder when it gets closer, I think that would help too.
Okay, but by doing it at sixth grade versus the high school, I think we get that right. But, more parents will come, more parents, will care about their sixth graders. You take the high school, kids more independent, parents more independent kids. So I think if I started it in that grade level, we'd be better off, so.
I think we should look into maybe seventh grade, and the only reason I say that is actually really sixth grade is transition year. Kids are coming into the middle school, they have a lot to get acclimated to just that year alone, and we do one year that year. And we don't go out.
You didn't do one year.
No, we did, yeah, that's next. I went to one year and I went to one year.
They weren't doing it.
I think, well, this, no, RMS, I was at the phone. But I'm just saying, I really think that seventh grade, and I, think that I could do is ask the administrators, ask them what they think would be best, or where to sit best with teachers, because I just feel like sixth grade, they're getting acclimated to the school, and I don't think that's the year to add that. I know they do other programs with drugs, I would say seven, because then it's leading into eighth, where I think you see the biggest increase in problems.
I don't have a problem with that, as long as it's done in school and all that is being done. You know, I just know parents have a tendency to respond to sixth grade needs. Sixth grade parents will come, I always feel will come out more than maybe a seventh grade, and as they get older and older, less parents come out. And the parents that do come out, the parents that really don't need to be happy. So, but I'm fine with seventh grade, if you want to do it in seventh grade, that works for me.
Third, I'm a yes.
If we do it at the beginning of seventh grade, that's, yes, I'm a yes.
In September, October.
I'm a yes. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Okay, now Jackie, Brian's story.
I got to come to, I was offered, actually all of us were offered to go to the schools to check out these programs. I have to be perfectly honest, Brian's story, I'm gonna have a hard time talking about, so I'm not gonna say too much, because I literally couldn't even sit my teeth in another 5 minutes before I started here. It's a story about a father, I'm sure many of you know it, or probably saw it. It's devastating to hear about what happened to his child, and that he advocates like this to get the word out there about suicide, and that it could really happen to anybody's child. Nobody's exempt, this can happen to anybody. And it was just so profound, honestly. I left, my voice is up right now, I left really feeling like, wow, parents do not realize, including myself, that some kids just hurting and they can just cover it. They really can cover it. So I thought it was an outstanding program. I watched kids engaged in it. I watched the teachers, and I watched the social workers, and they did a great job following up and asking the questions. It was a really good program for anybody whose child is working. Ask them about it. It was really something. Wonder was also one of my favorites, because I went to the classroom and I got to see the kids, the teachers kept stopping in and turning back on and they asked questions. So it really hits it home, so the kids remember it. I know I remembered even the questions and how they were answering them. So really both curriculums were excellent. It was not. And I thank you for letting me see.
And wonder, did that go on for a number of sessions?
Yes, it went on for, I believe they said it would be 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's a big program. Did you go on that yourself?
I was on it. So.
All right, I just wanted to hear. I know Jack probably went there. Yeah, it's a wonderful program. And kids do learn by it. It's all about anti-bullying. Okay, so next would be Disney Cherokee, Jackie.
Okay, I would like to say this. I love Disney Day. A few years ago, before I was a board member, my lid had let me know, or Linda to did something, and live with something, right? And I loved it. I thought it was so great because they walked around the school in Duffield and they actually got to sign books, little like Disney World books for kids who don't get to go to Disney. I thought it was, and the teachers and all the staff were dressed up as Disney characters. So nicely done. So after that, one of my first things off the board was advocating for Disney Day. It took a few years, but they did an fabulous job, Charity. Charity did a great job this year. We saw it online. I tried to share it with the board as much as I could to show them. It was, we had Aladdin pushing the princesses, it just looked like so much fun for the kids. And I just want to thank everybody who was involved and made the kids really have a great day. That was excellent. Great job, Charity.
We want to do the department, that would be me. I'm joining the youth department, we're going to visit Comac School, Comac School, because they're impressed with some of the things that they have that we don't. I also want to come to the city, but now we can't go because of COVID, they don't want any visitors to the party at school. I also am curious now, and I'm heavily looking into, we have a technology department. We have a lot of things that we can offer technology in the music field. I can't, there's audio and many other things that I'm not even aware of. How can we go about finding some of those things that we also might be able to add that in the technology field that has to do with music, because music is broad. Music is just not singing and dancing. That whole industry is tremendous. And I think that we should take a hard look at, I can look at what colleges offer, and we can go backwards. But I know there's a lot of technology out there that is the future for our children.
There are a number of districts that establish programs that specialize in some of those areas. So Common Ground Outback High School, we are certainly open and willing to researching that opportunity as well.
And move on to Sequest out in Ireland.
No, it's me.
Mother.
Sure. So Sequest and Plus are some amazing programs that are offered at the elementary programs. So Sequest is an enrichment program for 5th and 4th graders, and it was on pause for COVID, but I was just informed that a committee is going to be formed to reimagining and restarting Sequest for the 2022-23 school year. So I'm very excited about that. FLES is foreign language in the elementary school. It started 2 years ago in the 3rd grade with the hopes that every year they would add another grade, so maybe 3rd, 4th, and 3rd, 4th, 5th. It was also put on hold because of COVID. It's a lunch and learn program where the children will eat their lunch while learning the basics and the fundamentals of new language. So it's going to be reinstated in the 5th grade for the 2022-23 school year, and then it will be the 3rd to 5th graders, and it's an amazing program which gives more than to a language. I think it's fantastic.
So Linda, when do you propose on starting a community with Sequest? Sometime.
Can you see names, committee members later this month?
So you don't have one myself.
I would love to be on that committee.
Okay, so that's foreign language, that's foreign language.
So that's me again. I'm actually very disappointed in foreign language. As someone that learns English as her 3rd language, I think it's amazing for students to learn more than one language. And coincidentally enough, it's foreign language week this week. Michelle Tosa actually gave us on her ground with some interesting and amazing things that is going on throughout the district. But I would like to see foreign language introduced to students as early as kindergarten. I think that students that pick up a language early on can tend to learn it and grasp is a lot sooner than the seventh grade. I think seventh grade, you're going to learn it or you're not going to learn it. Most times you're probably not going to learn it. I know that it could be an enrichment program, if possible, even to start that way. I know sometimes schools that actually does it, like I've been in that program since kindergarten. So we can look into it and maybe something that we can choose at FY that can help you there, that's good. American Sign Language, also something Jackie and I have been pushing for this. I'd like to see it offered to students, either as an elective or as a language requirement. I know that it can be a struggle getting the program up and running and initiating it, but I think that the reward would be worth the effort. I think that even if maybe we offered it to 11th and 12th graders after they fulfill their class requirement, and maybe it would be something that they would learn extra. So just like 2 months.
I just want to know where we're at because that's being advocated for. American ASL, that's been going on for 3 years. We've been pushing, and Dean originally had said that they were looking into making it an after-school program and a club. But I'd really like to see it somehow get pushed in, or if you do some kind of curriculum, like she said, like Miracle said, it's elective, that would be great. I think it's something kids are really interested in. Like I said, I went to a book fair at RMS, and I watched many kids find the sign language bookmarks. I couldn't believe it, of all the bookmarks. So I mean, it's something kids do seem interested in, and it's actually something that really helps learn. And nowadays, it's something that's really easy getting a job too.
I don't know if you want to share the authority, trying to, in preparation, looking for new stuff.
So Christina, I think you were going to jump in with there's a club right now, so I'll let you go first and then I'll be back on this.
So in investigating a similar program in other school districts and what kind of availability there is locally, what other districts do, we do have an operating club at Napa High School. I think that the intention of the board though is to service potentially a larger population of students through the school day as opposed to an after-school option. And so we did some surveying of local districts. We solicited advice of Mrs. Sosa in terms of her working knowledge of ASL programs in different school districts and why they are successful in specific school districts. One of the greatest challenges that we've acknowledged is in faculty that is certified in ASL, and I'll let President Tebow for a moment to speak to that.
So OLAS is the online application service that many school districts use throughout New York State. It gives, applicants, teaching applicants, opportunities to apply for different jobs throughout different districts. And I can do a search on every user in that system to determine certifications, to determine interest or experience or anything along those lines. So I did do a quick search of those in the system who are certified as ASL teachers, American Sign Language teachers. I don't know how many users there are on OLAS, but it's in the tens of thousands. I think it's 10, 15, 20,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. Out of that number, there were 68 applicants who were certified in ASL. I did send an email to those 68 people to just gauge interest. The email stated, if you create this, would you be interested in applying? Out of that 68, I had one response saying that she would be interested in applying. So we're talking about a very, very shallow pool of candidates.
Piggyback on the foreign language piece. We discussed this about 5 years ago. That's how blessed came to we wanted to start in kindergarten. And the problem we had then, I don't know if we have the same problem now because we had to go to the exchange a little bit. But at that point, the teachers, there was no available space in the classrooms. So I don't know if things have changed or if we look at it differently, but that's how it started because this was not.
Right, that's why I was saying maybe starting as an assistant program.
And I believe that that's where that lunch and learn protocol was born, right?
Correct.
So it was an opportunity to build the experience into a child's school day, but not detract from the regular classroom setting. It was elective, right, so children can choose whether or not they want to participate. But by space, there's going to be a remaining space inside the teacher's instructional day. And that is a very true challenge. And I don't know that COVID has, resolved or provided anything, to accommodate it. Absolutely. But it's worth a conversation, about planning, in terms of extending that lunch and learn. We right now have an upward ladder, so next year we'll see movement into 5th grade. And the eventual proposal for this work was to move lunch and learn into a 6th grade flex program for world language exposure prior to their selection of a language in 7th grade. So right now we're moving upward through the grade levels according to the proposed plan that proposal was performed for the board in January 2020.
It was a discussion kind of implemented during the day, there was some pushback on it, and then I think I made a recommendation, maybe make it knock and knock out during a lunch period of time. And I think she's been pretty successful, but the intent was 3, 4, 5, and eventually, then 3, 4, 5, and that.
Move on to payment services. Now, so officially we'll start. So I investigated the program. It's a profit. It's free. They come to the school with about warning signs of depression, anxiety, suicidal thinking, asking for questions, building resilience for help if needed. So I'm requesting as a board, to have a consensus that we do this and have to work with, they're going to have to work with guidance and the social worker in each of the 2 middle schools. But I'm asking for the board to have our social workers and guidance people work with this group and have an opportunity to bring it into our schools. I need a consensus on that.
I would like feedback from that department, because I'm sure they have worked with different types of programs. I don't know if you're adding another tool in their toolbox, or just adding something on to their requirements or what they're supposed to do. So I prefer to hear from that department what they are in need of, and we can go from there, not us doing it the other way around.
Well, I think that they should be able to talk to them about it. So Linda, can you bring this to their attention to see if there's any interest?
Absolutely.
Okay. Next, we're going to go on to reality check program at Yukon High School. Jackie.
I had sent this over to Christina for curriculum. It was sent to me by a few different community members. It looks very interesting. I know we have similar things going on at the high school, and I actually know that one of the middle schools may be doing something similar as a fair, like a career fair. This meant that freshman students are assigned a random annual income before traveling to groups like housing, clothing, insurance, and childcare, and make virtual payments from their budget. It goes on to say it really provides insight. Every booth is hosted by local volunteers from their correlating industries. Auto salesmen sell the cars, bank officials run the bank, childcare providers discuss childcare, the real estate agents working in the housing booth reflected. We actually learn a lot from the students. After volunteering for several years at this event, we've gotten to see firsthand how the students' decision-making process has changed over the years. I really think this is a great way to give students perspective, real-life perspective, and from some people that are in the industry. So if you'd like to speak on it.
Sure. Well, Jackie, I really appreciate you bringing this example to life for us. And so I had to go back into the field and see if we offered anything experientially for students that is similar or carries some of the same notes. And we do, not to the exact provisions of what you just offered, but we do offer a personal financial literacy course at CHS that is for 10th and 11th grade students. We currently run about 6 or 7 sections of that course, which enroll roughly 150 children. That course focuses on students essentially preparing for their financial futures. And so they engage in the legwork in a very adult kind of arena regarding personal finance. So for instance, they study topics such as income and money management, saving, investing, and risk management, credit and debit, budgeting, paying taxes, banking procedures and services, obtaining and protecting credit, which certainly is a hot topic as children exit high school, personal loans and purchasing decisions, credit cards and other forms of credit, methods of savings, buying and renting home, buying and leasing cars, as well as health, life, and car insurance. So we are currently reaching a population of students with these particular topics related to personal financial literacy. However, the business department is also exploring opportunities for our 9th grade students to have an experiential dip into this realm. And that would be covered through a simulation that but discussions and additional brainstorming is in process at this point. So essentially it would provide students with real-world financial literacy skills that include topics such as income and money management, saving, investing, and risk management, credit and debit, and budgeting. So that's for our freshman age students, which I think is, comparable to this program that you're bringing forward. So the response is yes, we offer programs that are similar in nature, not exactly this particular one that you're bringing forward, and conversations are happening about how to grow this type of literacy in our high school age students.
I would love to see that. I would definitely be advocating for that.
We are on their side of checking.
Okay, so I did some research, and I was a little unhappy with finding out, now that it's already March, that class sizes were told to me it was 22. I had requested it not go over, I even think 22 is too high, as you all know. I like under 20, 19. But then I did some research, and I looked into some things, and spoke to some people, and I was really unhappy to hear that some classes are at like 26. So what I want to know is that next year, I don't want to have to do the research. I want to be able to trust that the numbers on the paper are what is actually in the classroom. Because I don't work in the classroom, so I can't tell if what I'm getting is actually what's out there. So,
President, do you want to respond to that?
Jackie, are you talking about the elementary classrooms that are 26?
what is the largest class you have in elementary? What is the largest class you have in middle school? And what's the largest class you have in high school?
I'd have to look at the high school and the middle schools. Phys ed classes don't run 26. They're probably higher than 26.
Well, I'm not,
I know you're not talking
I'm not
about
talking
phys ed.
about it.
Elementary, there aren't classes higher than 23. If you recall, when we decided that we'd go to 22, we did say occasionally there would be a class at 23. We have had instances where a class size is at 23 and we've shifted people. Those students who are incoming to the school district, we've moved them to other buildings that could accommodate so that we weren't over 23. But I don't know of any class at the elementary level that is over 23.
What is our number at middle school?
I would have to look at that again. I'm not sure. If you give me 2 seconds, I actually think.
Well, we can go over this again, you don't have to search it now. I just want to be sure that the numbers that we're given on paper per classroom is actually what's out there. And that goes to middle school as well, because I don't want to hear this 26, 27 in a class in middle school. I think that's too much.
There might be, Jackie, I'll take a look at both the middle schools and the high school. I'm almost certain that you're going to find a class of 26. I haven't looked at it, but I'm almost certain that there is. So I'll take a look, and if we can do a better job of managing that for next year, we certainly will.
Thank you. Just don't want to see sections closed if we have numbers that high. If we have numbers that high, I'd rather see you split and make another section.
Hey, Jackie, you again? This is just, I wanted to put this out there for the community, for those of you who opt out. New York State assessments, there was an issue with the letter, and I just want to let Mrs. Poppy speak about it so that everybody understands. I'm not telling anyone what to opt out and what not to, but at least you understand what you're opting out to, because some of these letters had an additional line that said that they were opting out of more than just the assessments, which could create a problem because the teachers, is the teachers right that they, or you guys use the benchmark? They use the benchmark and they need that to help the students that actually need the services.
So on March 1st, I sent out a letter regarding our Q3 assessments to households who have children in those grade levels. That letter is a blanket letter for the district, itemizing the assessments that will be offered as well as the dates that are current for the school year during which those assessments will be offered. In that letter, I included some information about the district's respect for parents and guardians' right to choose for their child or children whether or not those assessments are okay for them to take. It's a parent's right to refuse, and the district respects that. The district, however, does not promulgate an opt-out letter per se. And I did receive a few parent requests for a copy of said letter. A simple note addressed to your child's principal will suffice. And the request that I did receive, that's the way that I answered it. To mitigate some further confusion, our school buildings either have already sent out or will be sending out shortly a more detailed letter, again indicating the dates during which the exams will take place this spring, and in addition outlining the appropriate activities that will take place during the school day if the child is to refuse the exam. At the bottom of that letter, and they will all take a similar format, there is an opportunity for parents to go ahead and indicate their intention regarding the exam. So whether they will choose for their child to take the exam or not. That is to mitigate some of the administrative duties that have to take place in preparation for these exams. Oftentimes, although it's a parent's right to refuse the exam up until the day of the exam, it becomes a large challenge at the building level to ensure that all students are properly placed and located throughout the building in terms of whether or not they're sitting before a test or in an appropriate refusal area or engaged in either a testing or refusal activity. In that letter, I also indicated that there is an opportunity for parents to bring their children to school late, and the individual buildings will go ahead and reiterate that according to the most opportune arrival times for students who will be coming late on those days.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Okay, are we on transportation, kindergarten, special education? Huh?
Please, it's special education in general ed curriculum, it's me and
Okay.
Christina. Okay, I'm gonna send it over to you in a minute. I was fortunate enough to have a meeting with Mrs. Bobby and Mrs. O'Hara, or whatever, and they were explaining, going over a bunch of questions I had about special education and general ed and catching kids up, and they came up with a great idea, a great program, and I'd love for them to hear, just a quick, brief sharing of what you told me, and thank you guys again for taking the time out of your day to sit with me, I appreciate it.
Well, our conversation covered a lot of bases. right? It went in a few different directions. So I'd like to take an opportunity to highlight some of the changes that we have instituted this year regarding our special education students, some of the provisions that we have focused upon within the district. So we have provided an opportunity for professional development and Wilson training. We have allocated resources to our elementary classrooms, such as portable readers and independent readers that are below grade level. In addition, we have our self-contained classrooms in the middle schools in receipt of benchmark libraries that are appropriate for the students in that room, which is really exciting. A vast array of texts in all of those rooms. And we have provided each elementary resource room with additional reading supports to meet the individual needs of students. Mrs. O'Hara has developed additional ESY, extended youth school year classes to meet the summer regression needs of students in self-contained classes K through 8. And those are only some of the provisions that we have gone ahead and put forth in order to meet some of the challenges that our elementary and middle school age children are facing. In addition, for all students, including general education students, and again, this is for all students, the district has initiated a skill building opportunity for children in grades 6 through 8 across the board. This skill building opportunity is essentially a learning opportunity in mathematics and ELA. Parents and guardians are welcome to sign their children up. The program is offered through Spoke Educational Services and will take place after school, directly after the school day, from 2:40 to 3:30 p.m. so that a child can take the late bus. If a child is engaged in after-school activities or athletics, we're offering a Saturday program that will take place at Kenneth High School. Those after-school programs will be hosted at both middle schools, and they will begin later this month. We are seeking enrollment, and the enrollment, as I mentioned before, does occur through Spoke directly. There's a flyer posted on the district's website, and we just pushed through our social media outlets again. So for anyone who is interested, I'm encouraging some opportunity for people to enroll their children. Sure, absolutely. And in addition, I just wanted to mention one more thing that we discussed. We did see an increase in some of the sensory needs for students at the elementary level. We've instituted some flexible seating in several classrooms throughout the district, and sensory items provided for elementary classrooms, as well as a sensory wall that will be built on the wall outside of the library at Oxford Elementary. So some things that are up and coming, some things that are in process, all geared toward student development and student energy and vision.
And let's let the folks know it's actually being paid for through a lot of grant money. So it's not on the not a burden on the taxpayer, and these are great things that are coming up. Thank you so much for sharing the whole thing, I appreciate it.
And we have the transportation, kindergarten, special education.
As you know, the parent had sent us a concern regarding it. I'd like to hand it over to you, to obviously they just review it and.
So I have data that I need to check because we were finding information out about what we generally do. So I'm going to ask Bob to give this information as well. But what happens to a student who needs to be placed in a class, either a small class or an ICT class that are in any school besides for enrolled in their zone, in any school besides for Cherokee and Sycamore, is those students are placed in either a small class or an ICT class in either Cherokee or Sycamore. There's also a very specific program at FOSI, so if a child needs one of those very specific programs, they would be transferred to FOSI from all the other schools within the district. We do offer the siblings, if there's space, of those children to attend Sycamore. If they had not zoned for Sycamore or Cherokee, they're not zoned for Cherokee, but I'm going to ask Bob if he got the information, but I was asking, I don't believe we've ever offered busing for those children who are currently placed out of zone. So we certainly have not offered it as part of on the special education trust, because that's an IEP demand that they'll get us door to door. So, but I did not get that information to see if we had ever offered it. I do not believe that we have. We currently, and again, this is data that I have not completely checked, we currently have 14 students who attend Sycamore from other zone elementary schools that have elementary siblings. 6 of them have a general education sibling who is attending Sycamore instead of their zone school, and 2 of them have an elementary sibling who is attending their zone schools and not attending together at Sycamore.
Those siblings, parents and students, right, those siblings.
If they are going to Sycamore and Red Zone, correct. At Boston, we have 8 special education students from other zone schools with elementary siblings, and all those siblings attend their zone schools. None of them attend Boston. We have currently 12 students who attend Cherokee from other zone schools that have an elementary sibling. There are 2 special education students who attend Cherokee and have general education sibling zone for another elementary school who are also attending Cherokee. So there are 12 special ed students from other zone schools, and only 2 of them currently have their siblings attending at Cherokee out of zone, and they will be bused by their parents. So that's what's going on across districts.
Are these programs going to be able to can expand the scope of how we offer it, maybe offer it more programs?
So in order to get the ratio that we need for these different programs, we actually held them in the 2 larger elementary schools for the specific purpose that if a child needed part of their day to be in small class and part of their day to be in an inclusion class, we would want them in the same building. So we did that over the course of time 6 or 7 years ago. We said we actually had some classes at Pearl and some classes at Sycamore, and the parents generally didn't have and the ICT together at Sycamore, and at Cherokee, so it's easy to that's the reason why they're at the 2 large buildings.
I agree, Mom. I think we have to make sure if there are parents who want their kids though in the same building, they should never get told no. I mean, I think that's ludicrous, because if you're in, like Cherokee has different, you have this discussion, you have different times. So you're talking about a parent can't have themselves in the camp if they want to pick their kids up. Now, you have to get 2 parents or 2 people to pick them up. It's not right. We should figure it out, even if it means we have to make a smaller class. This is what I said to you guys. Regardless how you have to do it, even if it means adding a class there, there should be no reason why we don't have enough room to bring. If it's, how many kids can have kids? What is it?
Very correct, and honestly, I don't believe we've ever said no to someone who wanted to come out of zone to go into Cherokee or Sycamore. Actually, there's 12 students who attend Cherokee, and only 2 of them have their siblings there, which means the parents decided not to put the 2 siblings together. What we have never done is bust the parents who said they want their child to zone. And I think that was the question, that we don't
People though, to get the contract with the other outside companies. And right, and I'm saying, we did this, it was something we looked into, for whatever kids need to be transported on the small bus. That was something that I had asked.
So are we talking about contracted transportation or industry transportation?
Well, I'm confused because, like I said, I was told 2 things. I was told that we were gonna find out how many kids needed busing, and if we could look into a service contract for a small bus, what would it cost? And then I was also told about that some kids weren't able to go to a school because there just wasn't enough room to be bursting at the seams. That's what I was told. That was months ago. I know I was wrong. It was shit. It was charity. And I was told, Jack, it's bursting at the seams. Some kids cannot just go there. We have to keep them in their home school. Out of zone. And I have a problem with that.
All right, so, I mean, at this rate, what we can do is look at substitute transportation with the current contractor versus in-district. And I would say, in district with the constraints we're up against right now with drivers, Suffolk Transportation, probably, yeah. Yep.
To air filtration, Marisol?
So a lot of parents have been asking about the air quality in our schools, and I reached out to John Allen, who offered to help explain the filtration in the schools.
Good evening. So 2 years ago, just about to the day, Plants and Facilities was put under the spotlight to deal with a lot of the issues that came from COVID. The two main focuses to that were cleaning. I could speak to the cleaning quite extensively at some point, but I think this topic of conversation is really focusing on ventilation. So there have been improvements, substantial improvements up and down throughout the district from day one. One of the very first things the district did 2 years ago was we changed our practice of changing filters from twice a year to 3 times a year, as well as increase the quality of the filtration wherever we possibly could. So please keep in mind that a lot of the equipment in the buildings are only designated for MERV 11 or 13 filtration. Wherever possible, we increased it, often exceeding the recommendations for the equipment. While this is not ideal because it puts a undue load and strain on the equipment, we've been monitoring it and we've been changing those filters as need be in order to be able to increase the filtration in every single space. Additionally, last year, we did a major renovation of the heating and ventilation building, Sycamore, the building. About 85% of that building did not have individual fresh air louvers. This was a concern at the very beginning of the year. In order to address that, we brought outside air consultants in. We did carbon dioxide testing. We did air filtration. We made sure that there was high enough quality of air throughout the building in order to open safely. We advocated opening windows. We advocated keeping doors propped open, which are things that we've been doing throughout the entire district. But Sycamore in particular was a big concern. This was not a concern that just came up in COVID, though. This is a concern that came up in the previous capital project, something that I was aware of that was a concern. So thankfully, it was on the docket and it was in place to be replaced, top to bottom, inside out. To date now, 85% of that building is completely renovated, which allows that building to get full fresh air in a fully controlled system. And when I say that, what people need to understand is we have a building management system, which is a computerized system that operates all of the mechanical systems throughout the district. When I arrived in 2015, the district had just approved a capital project that allowed us to change out a good portion of the systems so that we had better functionality. Since that project, I have been constantly upgrading the systems each and every year quite extensively. So the measures that took place last year was we brought all of the exhaust fans onto the BMS system. So now not only were we able to control the classrooms and control how much fresh air was coming into the classrooms, we could also control the amount of recirculation that is taking place and the amount of air turnover that's taking place. So if you think about a spill of soap, the easiest way to take care of that spill of soap is to dilute it. The more we dilute it, the better the air quality. Fresh air, exhaust fans, having them tied together in a system that correlates and communicates constantly allows us to do that fresh air turnover on a constant basis. I also talked about opening the windows. I talked about increasing opening the doors and creating airflow. All of those things have been an ongoing process. We're always cognizant of maintaining air temperature within the building. Sometimes this poses some challenges. We want to get that fresh air going. We want to get that building opened up 2 hours prior to anybody getting here, circulating the air. We also want to do the same thing after the last person leaves at night. Once again, leaving those systems on for 2 hours so we can circulate the systems and increase that dilution, that ventilation dilution that takes place throughout all the buildings. Things that are coming up in this upcoming summer, we are going to be replacing 51 pieces of equipment at the high school. 51 separate locations are going to get upgraded mechanical systems. RMS is going to get 37. So those are two major renovations that are going to be taking place. That is not to say that the systems in those buildings are inadequate. It's just to say that this will give us greater functionality, more control, and also maintain that comfort in the building on a better basis. So that's some of the more capital work that's going on ventilation-wise to help us to ventilate and dilute the air and therefore maintain air quality. One of the other big things is we're also looking at our staffing. When I began at the district, we had 2 HVAC gentlemen and 1 plumber. The board was so kind a few years ago to add another HVAC mechanic. So we've done that. So now we had, up until 6 months ago, we had 3 HVAC and a plumber. And when the most recent retiree in the maintenance mechanic ranks retired, who was a plumber, we added another HVAC technician. So now we have greater functionality, greater capacity to respond to issues throughout the district as they arrive with all that additional help as well. So broad strokes, but that's what we're doing as of now.
Thank you, Bill, appreciate it.
Absolutely.
No, it's gonna be one, and I'm just gonna read one thing and we'll call it a day. First, legal guidance is was put on there to establish that there is no lawful reason why any board member cannot answer emails through a meeting, especially with the majority of the board okaying it. And so at the last meeting, the board president tried to silence me, and that cannot be done. It should not be done, not for any of us as board members. We all have the same constitutional rights as everybody else, especially when we're sitting as a private citizen. So I'm going to read it, and this time it's on our agenda. So I wrote to answer emails from a few community members, and I wrote a broad statement when people were questioning me not only as a mother, as a police. But I am first and foremost a mother. Before anything, I sit as a board trustee. In all of these roles, I make every attempt to follow the laws as they have been passed by the legislators. As a citizen of this great country and state, I have the same rights as all of you to peacefully protest a rule I don't agree with. Yes, I had attended an unmasked rally as a private citizen and mother with my children, and not in any capacity of a Board of Ed trustee or police officer, because my children asked to attend to stand up and speak up for themselves. My children are entitled under their First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, and their Fifth Amendment, which provides due process of the Constitution. I did not break any laws or advise anyone to break the law or rules of our school district. To try to equate a peaceful rally outdoors where masks are not required to resisting arrest is absolutely inappropriate and meant solely to instigate a negative discussion about a very important topic. There's a difference between criminals breaking established laws that were passed by our legislators and an unconstitutional mandate that has been shown to be harmful to our children. Plus, peaceful protest is at the heart of our Constitution as a way to redress grievances with our government. Many parents and students are concerned, or were concerned, I should say, because this was written before the mask mandate was then lifted a week later. And the safety and psychological events will into of wearing a mask all day in school, and those kids need a voice too. Advocating for freedom of choice and breaking rules are two completely different things. The emails were sent to the school board. We are supposed to allow the board president to respond, but we're supposed to, the board itself is supposed to be able to see what these emails look like before they go out. We're supposed to be able to approve them. Nothing was approved that day, and an email is going to be read,
And while I have no problem with the email being read because it was posted on social media, I do have a problem with not responding to it because I wanted to make it clear to everyone in the community that we all have our constitutional rights and everybody should be protected under the eyes of the law. Yours, mine, our children, everybody up here, everybody in the audience, everyone has constitutional rights. Nobody has the right to tell somebody else how to think or how to exercise them. See, that was all this.
Okay,
That was
we'll
all.
go into the Zoom meeting. All right. Public comment, is anyone going to discuss public, that has any questions on public comment for agenda, consent agenda items? If not, I'll just back to the public statement. If not, okay, so we're going to go on to,
Lee,
Yeah.
was the conversation about the class numbers that part of the consent agenda?
no. No, that's not part of it. Okay, so,
Was what Jackie talked about, part of the consent agenda?
no.
No, okay.
Then go on to personnel first. Personnel matters. Motion and second to approve the instructional and non-instructional personnel items as presented. Need a motion?
Okay.
Second? Any questions? If not, all in favor? Aye. That motion so carried. Financial matters, call for motion to second to approve items 2 through 7. Any motion? Second? All in favor?
Sorry.
Motion so carried. Okay, with that, now we're going to consent agenda items. Any motion and second to approve items 2 through 38? Motion?
Second.
Second. Okay, any questions? Go ahead.
I'm not familiar with the exact details of the agreement, but I do believe it involves that site and the video of that.
Yes, so it also provides DVD, and these children are in the right. I can get that information. Okay, so the 25 DVDs are offered to I don't know. And to have it at every college, there's a state school, there's an education, there's the 25 years, there is a small class, with the 3,000 participated in that program.
Yes, that is the
Well, the 25D one, so, and the person of only children that they participate in the program, is 50.
Or the better question, who are those 25 going to? Like, how do you determine? I agree with that, every child should go.
All right, put a motion that the board is committed that every child who participates in play is a copy of that DVD.
I would say yes.
Okay, so I make a motion for the application to accept, the proposed amount. I know it's not reflected. And we have technology here, I'm still on the DVD. I don't think it'll be a plus factor.
I think it will work.
Drone blocks are in alignment with our CCTV assignments to us. We have some budgeted for next year, for professional development and equipment purchases around the course. However, there were some additional funds in the budget left over from this year, so when we were spending on the budget departmentally, we were able to make some purchases in advance of next year.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Okay? There are no more questions. I need all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion so carried. So now we're going to move on to public comment. I will now open the floor for open comment portion of the agenda. I will call individuals forward one at a time. Please wait for my acknowledgement before stepping up to the podium. You should have received a numbered card from security on your way in. If you have not, please see a security guard at the back of the room. Any person wishing to address the board shall address the board president only. Comments should be kept as brief as possible and related to school matters only. Each person will be limited to 3 minutes for one or more topics. Members of the audience speak out of turn. The board may consider a recess until order is restored. Any specific questions asked will be answered by the appropriate party posted to our district board page. That's through the district website. If you have any specific questions and would like an email follow-up, please follow up with the district clerk. Okay, I'll start right now. Number 1.
Okay, good evening. My name is Christine Constantine, and I'm a 7th grade teacher at OBMS. Normally, I'm not one for coming to speak at board meetings, but at this point, I feel like I've honestly been left with no choice. I hope none of the words that come out of my mouth this evening come in any way sounding disrespectful or angry, but honestly, at this point, I feel my feelings have been hurt, and I think most of the people behind me feel the same way. To say the least, the last 2 years have been difficult is truly an understatement. Last year, I would tiptoe out of my house every morning to not wake my sleeping family. I was getting to work every single day far earlier than I ever had before. I would make sure the technology worked, the room was prepared, my teaching cart, which was a really good time, was ready for the whirlwind known as my new schedule of riding the elevator all day long. I made sure the environment was as clean as it could be, my lessons were ready, all the while making sure that I had a smile on my face every day at 7:50 when my kids walked through that door. I wanted their day to start off perfectly, even though mine had me in a complete tailspin of anxiety. I would start my lessons and try to fill my students' days with as much excitement and joy as I possibly could, considering that I was staring at them through plastic shields with all of us wearing masks. Most were rather sad days. Could I get over it? Of course I could. I love my job. I couldn't think of anything else I'd rather do with my days than inspiring and educating children. I had always thought of myself as fortunate to be a teacher. Hearing the recent proposals brought up during contract negotiations has honestly left me speechless. How could a district that I have worked so incredibly hard for treat me with such professional disrespect? You can paint whatever picture you like about how what we get is similar to surrounding districts, but it simply is not true. At a time when teachers are working harder than they ever had before, inflation has our economy in an entire state of disaster. It was sad that when I thought today was a good day because I got gas for $4.05 a gallon, and I considered that my small victory of the day. The cost of groceries is at an all-time high. I could go on all night, but you found the money to give most units a raise, a substantial one for many. But you want us to accept 0.75%, and with an increase in medical, which could turn up looking more like a pay cut than a raise. It is sad, it is offensive, and personally I find it insulting to say the least. I have hit an all-time low in terms of how valued I feel for the work that I do. But don't worry, tomorrow I will show up, I will be here a half an hour before school starts, I will teach awesome lessons, I will inspire kids, and I will show my kids that I really do love my job and help them enjoy every day that we have left until June. Because I'm a hardworking teacher, and simply said, it's what I do, and it's what the rest of them do as well. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope you have a good night.
Number two?
Before you start, if you could just speak more into the microphone.
I will. Okay, I have an article here from a newspaper, local newspaper. I'm going to read it to you. I'm embarrassed. I am disappointed and embarrassed to be part of the Connecticut District after watching today's meeting and the response I received from Jackie Napolitano-Ferno. I had legitimate concerns about her behaviors as a board member and officer of the law, and she completely ignored them and instead went on a rant, basically said she shouldn't have to take me or anyone that feels the same way seriously because she is also a mother and a community member, and also she is a citizen. We are using her to support a movement for her campaign and having no regard for the proper process and conduct for the BOE meetings and members. She is behaving completely inappropriately. That was not a response to my concerns in my previous email. She is also not only a board member, she owes me a response. This community and I deserve better. I won't use the woman's name, we all know who she is. I read this newspaper and I said, it's time for a response. When my daughter decided she would run for the Board of Education, I had reservations and concerns. As a longstanding parent in this community, whose children and now grandchildren have been educated by the Connecticut School District, I've seen my fair share of challenges either on the local level or the Board of Education meeting. I know that anyone who takes the oath to serve and represent is subject to scrutiny. We have seen, particularly during the pandemic, that our local representatives have been under challenging and stressful times. I've seen firsthand as a father the role of my daughter as a trustee and as a police officer and how it impacts her. When a parent reaches out with a concern, my daughter will jump through obstacles to provide an answer and a solution. My daughter also serves the community for over 22 years as this law enforcement officer. In both roles, she took the oath to serve, protect, and represent. While in her role as law enforcement, she's always on the job. Where her role as board trustee is slightly different. When she is present in a meeting, she's a board trustee. When she steps out of the meeting, she is a wife and a parent. She's entitled, like any other parent, to have a personal life. Recently, my daughter attended a rally called Unmask the Children with her children, who insisted that they attend so their voices could be heard and their support could be demonstrated in a peaceful way. They wanted to show solidarity with other community members while standing up for their constitutional rights, which is what the rally was all about. Increasingly, the Board of Education trustees take an oath to uphold the United States Constitution and the New York Constitution. However, my daughter did not attend this rally as a board member or representative of the district, but as a community member, as a mother, as an American citizen, taking and making full use of her First Amendment rights. This is something she is well within her rights to do. Unfortunately, a few members of the community felt my daughter's presence at this peaceful rally of unmasking our children inappropriate based on her role as a board trustee. They chose to disregard the rights my daughter has, to show support for my daughter's children's decision to attend the rally. Instead, they have been taken to public forums as an attempt to attack her personally, simply because they have a different opinion on the issue at hand. They use lies and slanders in their methods. Very much like the support my daughter has for her children, I too as a parent support my daughter's decision to exercise her First Amendment right, which is freedom of speech and freedom of peaceful assembly. I have never thought in the 40 years of living in this community that I would have to protect my daughter's First Amendment rights, as I supported those rights for every American citizen with my 4 years of military service. Unfortunately, I'm over? Okay.
Thank you.
Well done, Dad. It's hard, a little hard to follow that, but well done. Thankfully, the useless and abusive mask mandate has come to an end, although the battle is clearly not over. Tonight, I'm here specifically to support the unvaccinated teachers and staff of the Connecticut School District. While mask mandates have been lifted, the fact remains that only the unvaccinated teachers and staff are required to test weekly for COVID. While this was never logical, it is especially absurd now if you follow the science. If this ever was truly about safety, every staff member in this district would have been tested weekly from day one, vaccinated or not. I see many union members here tonight. I urge you to show solidarity to your fellow members. To not is hypocrisy at its finest. I urge them not only to show support to their members here, but into their local districts as well. As many of you know, I've spoken here before. I am a member, I'm a teacher also, and I obviously am not allowed to talk at my own board meetings, but that's why I'm here supporting the teachers here in this one. I urge the Board of Education, administrators, and teachers union to follow Lindbergh's lead and to refuse to require unvaccinated teachers and staff to continue to test weekly, because at this point, we need to end this complete discrimination and harassment immediately.
Number 4.
Good evening. I have a question and I have a statement. Talked before about class size and your concern, and I appreciate that. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, is that at a previous board meeting, there was a vote taken to increase elementary class size next year to 25. Is that accurate?
No, not K. Not K grade, no.
What about 4 and 5?
I think they moved it, I think it was 25.
Mr. Colifier, could you respond, please, because they should know the answer.
The board gave us a guideline of 22 students.
K through 2.
Correct.
Okay.
3 through 5, the board gave us a guideline of 25 students. To date, the schedule, the way the numbers break, there is no class over 23
For next year.
for next year.
But to your point, if they extend it to 25, that means there will be, without question, 26 or 27 students in someone's classroom, which I agree with you 100% is not only inappropriate, it's cruel, and to do that to a teacher and to the students more so, especially following a 2-year situation that we've been in. So what was the vote on that, by the way? Members, who voted yes for that?
I think it was 5. You have to remember it.
No, I don't want to remember, I want to know who voted for that. It was a 5-0 vote to increase class size to 25? And can my time stop? Can my time stop while you're discussing this, please?
So just to be clear, that this was done through the budget guidelines, is that correct?
I know that I said 22, actually I said 19, but you guys said 22, and then I said if it's over 22, they get an 8.
I've always advocated for small class sizes.
Yes, so I think that, thank you for bringing that up, because I didn't know.
The Board of Education in January, on the January 25th, 2022 meeting, the budget development guidelines were approved unanimously by all 5 board members.
You have to remember, Tony, that when they put, if there's a class size full, they put a teacher assistant with that.
Lee, I'm not even asking that. I'm speaking to the point of if you have a class maximum of 22, but you bend it and are flexible for 23, if you're setting it at 25, there will be 26 and 27 kids in that class, teacher aide or not. So my question again is, did the entire board vote 5-0 to approve increasing the district policy for 3, 4, and 5, 5th grade to 25? Is that a yes or a no?
So in the budget guidelines that were approved unanimously by the board at the January 25th Board of Education meeting, the limits are K to 2, 22 and under, and 3 to 5, 25 and under.
I would ask that the board reconsider that, since there seems to be some confusion as to what's in the budget, what's not in the budget, who voted yes, who voted no, to please reconsider, okay, going forward. Listen, I'm not here to debate about that. I wanted to know, I got my response. What I'm asking for is going forward, you look at that again. I know we said the budget guidelines are all tentative. I seriously ask that you look at that carefully, because guaranteed, you could tell me 25 and the numbers today are 23, it will be at 26 or 27. My last comment, and it's a statement, is I listened here tonight, very calmly listening to all the accolades each board member had for the folks behind me and the other 300, 400 that are sitting at home. And you talk wonderful things about the job they do. You heard one of my members get up here and speak. To be offered a proposal that literally takes money from their pocket, okay, after what they've been through for 2 years, you should be ashamed of yourself. What you should have been doing, what you should be doing, okay, is thanking them, not by giving away the candy store. People who know me know I've never asked for the candy store, the whole kit and caboodle. What I've asked for is to negotiate and show respect and treat these people with the respect they deserve. You give them all the accolades and words, but when it comes to action, you do nothing. And lastly, so you're clear, we have been willing to negotiate since day one. I understand your attorney, who lies to you all the time, never gives you the right information, and please let him know I said this, Lisa. He lies and gives inaccurate information and spins it for his well-being. Never in the history of Connecticut that I've been here have we gone to impasse after one conversation. Never. And I sent you a letter about 3-4 weeks ago, and I said very clearly, I don't care what the mediator says, I don't care what the fact finder says, we're all going to end up back here on a negotiating table anyway. You're wasting community time. You're killing the morale of your teachers, okay? And we're going to end up back here anyway, because I don't care what a mediator says, and I don't care what a fact finder says. I'm going to make a decision along with my members to ratify a contract that is fair, compensates them for the job they do so well, as you admit, and I'm going to accept nothing less. So please bear that in mind. If I were you, I'd be telling your attorney to get his butt back into the negotiating room and negotiate with the Teachers Association. Because if you don't, it's only going to go downhill from here. I promise you.
Is there 5? Is there anyone else that wants to speak? Aren't there number 6?
Hi, I'm Christy Scarabino. I was listening to earlier that there was going to be a board at Basti, a tactical board. How come there's not going to be a tactical board at Cherokee?
I wasn't involved in the planning of it, but I can find out more.
There just seems to be more things given to the south side than the north side. It's always been that way. And Cherokee's the biggest school in the district. It has the most kids and the most kids in need there. So I would suggest that somebody looks into that, because that's not really fair. I'm also here to ask, there was a meeting we all watched it on the internet, and it seemed that one of the board members was getting guidance from someone from the outside. I want to know who was guiding her, because whoever that was hearing things that shouldn't have been heard by somebody not on the board. It was completely inappropriate. Does anybody have an answer for that? Did anybody ask that question, who was guiding her? Lee, you're the president. Who was guiding you?
No one was guiding me.
We all heard.
I had surgery and I was at my daughter's house. End of story.
That's not an end of story because you hear private things. That's not an end of story. It isn't for the community who you represent, and it's not appropriate.
I have grandkids that think that behavior here is not quite appropriate, and they were listening to you.
Well, there are parents here who don't think your behavior is quite appropriate. And you sitting up here criticizing parents, telling them that they're not showing up to drug things, why would a parent want to come here if they feel criticized by the board members that are running events? Your critical attitude is what keeps parents from coming to these events. It's your behavior. I'm done.
Hello, good evening. My name is Chrissy Rothmeyer. I'm a Spanish teacher at Connecticut High School, and I have been for 20 years. And I just want to let you know a couple of the things that we have been doing in the foreign language department, as you have previously said, as excellent teachers and adults and propagating for speaking a foreign language. So over the past 2 years, we have faced many barriers to trying to teach students how to speak a language. Number one, the masks. Number two, the shields. Okay, number three, the social distancing. Yet, over the past 2 years, we have managed to get these students to be able to feel comfortable to apply for the New York State Seal of Biliteracy this year. And this year, we have had more students apply for that Seal of Biliteracy than we ever have before. So aside from giving these students some sort of normalcy and socialization that was absolutely necessary, we worked tirelessly to come up with new ways, novice ways that we have never even done before to get students to be able to speak a language over the internet, putting ourselves out there, live streaming into people's homes. And I just can't fathom how we are offered this contract. Okay, and I've always lived by a rule, and I have a question for you, Lee Kennedy, because I'm supposed to address you, yes? Have you ever taught anybody or said to anybody that they should treat others as you expect to be treated?
I'm not going to answer, but of course.
Okay, then I think all of you need to really think about that rule, because none of you would want to have to work like we have worked the past 2 years and then be given a pay cut. Okay, because this contract is a pay cut, okay, for every single teacher in this room. And it is not fair. And we're really just looking for a fair contract. I'm just looking to be treated fairly like a valued employee of this district, as I have given the last 20 years of my life. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First, I want to start out with, is that why all these people are here is because they want a contract? Is it a pay raise or something? Guys? That's why all the teachers are here? They got a pay cut? Our children lost out on 100 and something hours of education during this whole COVID. And the teachers still got full pay. I know they worked hard. Everybody worked hard together. We were all thrown into like a dryer and tumbled around. but our children still lost out on 100 and something hours of education that the teachers got paid for, and our children didn't get that education. I'm just throwing out there. Seriously. And the guy who just, Tony, I guess, that's.
She's supposed to be, do you want this to become a debate?
No, I'm not debating. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, so that was the guy who's talking about, the president groping somebody else's wife. That's the guy who runs all of, Connecticut Teachers Union. I'm just talking, freedom of speech, I'm just talking. So I want a couple of things to go over because I never got to get to them. With the bus routes, and they were supposed to put together a little thing for the bus drivers so they weren't driving all over the place. They were going to have a little committee. Did they get that put together? Good. Good for them. Good for them. Awesome. Also, I would like to talk about, you guys were talking about Lee, you said that you wanted for extra help for the children who were suffering emotionally, mentally, and get them extra help for their issues. Well, it's because you guys did not let them, parents have freedom of choice, that these kids are having mental issues now. I also have a couple of signatures. I have a petition, actually, with 297 signatures that we would like to have Ms. Kennedy removed from her position for the way she speaks, the way her son spoke, your whole demeanor in the past 3 years is very embarrassing for our school. I have many, many more issues. These are 297 signatures that the community voted on, and half the community doesn't even know about it, but they're all very embarrassed by, like you said, what goes on here. Okay, I'll pass them off. And then I was also going to talk about, okay, I'll grab another number. I was 8.
March 2nd was a beautiful day for our district, I'm sure everybody remembers, and I really hope and pray that all children were and will continue to be treated with respect and kindness for the choices they make going forward. However, it was disappointing to see the email from the superintendent only address the children who wish to remain masked to be treated with kindness. When children who have either wanted to unmask or maybe their mask fell below their nose, they were treated terribly in the schools, threatened with discipline. So it's very sad also for the people like me who've been advocating for freedom of choice. Also advocate, which I also did, I advocated for the people who want to mask, to not be bullied, to not be tormented for their choice to mask. And we're not treated with the same respect, and that's very sad. Now, although our children are now free, the community will not forget the egregious behavior of one board member in particular. We will not forget that at a time when the district did have their local control in the summer of 2021, this one board member did not want to sign the cover letter that accompanied the petition with over 1,000 signatures for choice to the governor. We will not forget when that board member allowed a family member to harass parents in various forums who advocate for their children. We will not forget that this board member chose to ignore a letter on October 20th from Gercio and Gercio stating that the August 27, 10 NYC RR 2.60 determination, although it was illegal, it did not enforce mask wearing at Board of Ed meetings. Yet she refused to start the September 14th meeting until an unmasked parent was removed from that room. We're not going to forget that she abstained from voting to allow for a free consultation from Hamburg, Maxim, and Yaf regarding that litigation on mask mandates. We're not going to forget how she left under God out of the Pledge of Allegiance at the start of the November 9th meeting, or when the topic again of unmasking parents at board meetings was brought up and you all voted, she voted no. And that came directly from Garcia and Garcia, that letter. We're not going to forget how she screams at parents, calls them bullies, as she loses self-control and composure at almost every board meeting, or how she claimed to have compassion for students sitting alone during the lunch periods, when then she was given the opportunity to rectify it during that special meeting, and she voted no. And we're also not going to forget how there was somebody who infiltrated that meeting, no matter what you say. You repeated her verbatim. The oath is constantly violated, as she didn't do her due diligence in uploading the United States Constitution. Personally, I'm never going to forget the emails joking to call CPS on me, or the fact that my place of employment was entered in an attempt to silence me and destroy my livelihood just because I was doing my God-given job of protecting my children. So, Ms. Lee Kennedy, it is now time for your 2-decade reign in Connecticut to come to an end. It's time for the Commissioner of Education of the New York State Education Department to scrutinize your behavior and have a say in your future up there. So you are hereby served this document of over 80 pages detailing your egregious behavior as Board of Education President. Ms. Kemp, can I give this to you, please?
Is there a number 10? A number 11?
Good evening, Board. My name is Lisa Lacorte. I'm an advocate. Thank you for having this meeting. I want to first thank all the teachers. I would like all the teachers to please stand up, because you are owed a round of applause for the work that you have done for the past 2 years to take care of students. I think it's important. Education is something that we must protect. Public education is something that we protect. All right, so I just want to clap and thank all the teachers that did a fantastic job teaching our kids under the situations that we've been dealing with COVID, because people did not want to believe that we were in the middle of a pandemic, which the last one we had was a year ago. That's their problem. We have to protect life, and we protect children. Now, the reason why I'm speaking is because I feel that it's important that the board support their superintendents. I believe that is the function of the board, is to support the superintendents. And it was very disturbing to see that the powers were taken away from the superintendents to run a school because some members didn't want certain procedures in place. I think that when you start taking away the powers of the superintendents and start treating teachers poorly, what you're going to do is that you're going to push away superintendents. They're going to resign. Teachers are going to leave your district. And when you start failing to maintain staff to teach people, nobody's going to want to move in the district, and nobody's going to want to live in an area where the teachers are not supported, and your taxes are going to go up. And who's going to cover the taxes? The taxpayers are going to have to pick up the difference. I also noticed that in one of your meetings that you had, one of the speakers actually was talking about pulling away the state funding because they didn't want to wear the mask. 37% of your revenues, I believe, comes from the state funding. Who's going to fill that hole? Is that going to be the taxpayers? So it's insane for the comments that have been having. Now, I think it's important that we support teachers. I think it's important that education is priority. And if you're not here to do the job of the schools of public education, then you don't belong on the board. And since, Lee, you're the president of the board, all the members should be respecting the president of the board. If you cannot respect the members of the board, of her running the board, then you don't belong on the board. We have to pull the community together, and you're not going to pull the community together when you have discourse in your whole board. Thank you very much.
Number 12. Is there a number 12? Number 13?
Bye, Felicia.
And number 14?
Good evening. I'd like to take a moment to thank the board members that did fight hard for our kids to be unmasked, and particularly around the lunchroom situation. Thank you very much. My kids are really enjoying school right now, more so than even ever before. And I do want to take time to also to thank our teachers. You know, I'm not aware of any details of the contract, so I can't speak to that. But I'd like to say that my position is our teachers should be compensated to their worth. And I believe that you would be hard-pressed to find a job in the community that has a greater impact on the next generation. So thank you to our teachers. Let's pay our teachers. But the ancient adage of to whom much is given, much is required holds true. And that's why I'd like to voice today that the very next step in parent-district relations needs to be transparency in curriculum. These past few years, parents have been demonized for wanting a voice in our children's education. And the concept of transparency in curriculum is actually being demonized as we speak as an opportunity to censor. It's really interesting how when we have a voice and when we're deemed domestic terrorists, that's not censoring. But presenting that maybe we should be able to have open dialogue about curriculum is. This is nonsense. There have been a lot of events that have happened. I want to make it clear, this is not any faculty here whatsoever, but like I said in the last board meeting, as a dad of 5, sometimes you have to say things that are completely obvious. I do point to a couple instances. One teacher was removed for saying, I have 180 days to make these kids revolutionaries. Another teacher was removed for encouraging students to not pledge allegiance to the one flag that unifies us, but to pledge it to a single group due to their sexual preference. I can list many more, but like I said, it has nothing to do with the faculty here, so why do I bring this up? To have a collaborative effort between parents and teachers, we need to have clearly communicated expectations. And I also feel strongly that recently, events both nationally, like I said, the demonization of parents, and locally have really broken the trust. Ms. Kennedy, it is disheartening that just a few weeks ago, that the one unifying moment in this Board of Education meeting was when we talked about the children in the lunchrooms that were having a hard time. You said that you understood and you were aware. Yet when it was time to vote, you said that you did not see a problem when you were in the school. I see a... I'm sorry?
I follow these rules. I follow the governor's rule. I follow the Constitution.
Yeah. Okay, I completely disagree with that, and I've watched both videos over and over again, and I can say that that's not the case. So here's how I'll finish, is that there's a lot that's going on outside of these 4 walls, but I think it's important to say that, you know, the good that's going to come out of this is us parents are more engaged now than ever before, and that's not going away. We don't care what's happening internationally or nationally. This is what we care about, and I think it's very, very important, again, in transparency and curriculum, for us to be able to communicate what is being taught. Reading, writing, arithmetic, nothing more than that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Boyle. I've been an educator in Connecticut for 23 years. I came tonight to offer my voice on behalf of my colleagues, some of whom are sitting behind me tonight. I could point out what should already be obvious concerning the level of effort that Connecticut's teachers have given to provide a quality education to the children of this district during unprecedented circumstances. Instead, however, I would like to make another point this evening, one that should not be overlooked, but easily might. We are currently experiencing a teacher shortage, both locally and nationally. Many young teachers are leaving the profession before 5 years. Seasoned, experienced teachers who are able are retiring, weary, and wrung out after teaching through this pandemic. Fewer people are entering the profession today, and fewer are staying here on Long Island, where the cost of living is daunting on a new teacher's salary. As a result, districts are and will increasingly be competing for the best and the brightest new teachers in the coming years. Negotiating a contract that demonstrates your commitment to education in this district is what's really at stake here. You do a grave disservice to this community when you sit on that stage and offer hollow words of appreciation and regard for the teachers of Connecticut, yet fail to back up those words with a decent contract. When the board chooses to pull back benefits and leave days, increase costs for insurance, and offers only a pitiful salary increase, you're sending a message to those best and brightest young teachers out there that their future is not here in Connecticut, that you are unwilling to invest in the future of the children in this community, that putting the very best teachers into our classrooms is not a priority in Connecticut. For years, every time our contract has come up for a negotiation, the board hands its responsibility over to a hired attorney who does not answer for the education of this community's children, only the bottom line. He lumps Connecticut in with a collection of local school districts, tells you to stick together on teacher salaries and benefits, and lets you believe that not paying teachers what they are worth is an acceptable trade-off for a future of mediocrity. Well, it's time to do better. It's time to make an investment in the future of education in Connecticut. It's time to demonstrate your recognition of the lengths your teachers have gone to in order to educate our students these last exhausting 2 years. Don't offer us platitudes. Offer the hardworking teachers of this district, now and for your future, what we have earned and what we will continue to deserve. If you truly want the best, offer the best. Thank you.
I actually wasn't going to come here to speak, but I said, I might as well get out what I have to say. I've been on that side, and I've been on that side. So I'm listening to all the teachers and everything and all their stories, and I happen to agree with a lot of the things they're saying, but the whole world is going through changes. And it's not just teachers, it's people are losing businesses, jobs, and it's a tough decision to make up there what you have to do for the community, because you have the community to worry about, and you have to worry about taxes. So the taxes and stuff, and you got to worry about taking care of the teachers fairly. It's not an easy job to be up there. So I understand you want to be mad at them, but remember something, until you're in that seat, you really don't know what's going on. And I actually agree we do have great teachers, but sometimes it's like taking too much money out, you don't have it. And where's it coming from sometimes? Administration, we overpay them. It's going out of control what we give them. I agree, we need to adapt and have a better plan because it's not working what's going on here. I've also been up here and I've been lied to. I've been beat up by teachers' unions. And I've been beat up by Lee Kennedy and Linda Adams. And you know, the main thing to make this district work a little better is Lee, you gotta go. Linda, we need a new superintendent. Tony and Brad, as well as you fight for your people, the way you fight, it's just not right. You get up here and you get loud and you want to get in people's faces and bully them. I had a lawsuit. You knew about it and you supported me and said I was the greatest guy in the world. And I have a conversation with Barbanucci. And you said this. And I know I'm old news, Tony, because you said that to me also. But you know what? Why send out a flyer that I have a lawsuit? You're a joke. Grow up. Linda, start telling the truth about everything that happened. I know you guys are intervening today. I said I wanted to talk to the board, and everybody said yes. I went up there just so everybody knows. I went to talk to the board. The lawyer came out to me first and said, by the way, they're not going to answer anything you said and they're not going to talk back to you. So I said, oh, what the hell am I doing here?
Mark,
Yes?
you have to address me.
Oh, you want me to address who? Lee, you want me to address you? I really don't want to look at you, Lee. You've been in my office causing scenes. You did a horrendous thing, and you've lied about things. But anyway, like I said, we're intervening, so now I can ask a question. Linda Adams, the year I was let go, I'm going to ask it and see if she's going to answer it. How come I was let go? Because I didn't have the proper certification, but you hired other people that didn't have the proper certification also. You've been giving me answers, and you just don't want to answer it. Who are you protecting? You go on protecting people, and I have tape recordings that the board didn't want to listen to because their lawyer said, no, we don't want to hear that. The truth is going to get out there about everything that goes on, and you know what? It's got to stop, and I'm going to continue to advocate and keep pushing it. And I'm hoping somebody wants to come out and find out the truth, listen to my recordings, and hear it, and put it in the newspaper, because it's a joke. Thank you.
I apologize. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. Is it okay if I talk? Okay. Good evening. My name is Leslie Sewell. I've been a physical education teacher and coach here for 19 years. I'm also a high school CTA union representative. First thing, I just want to make sure to the board, Ms. Kennedy, if you can relay this to the board and central administration. I hope everybody's families are doing well, happy and healthy after the past 2 years. I watch every board meeting the past 2 years from my house. Every board meeting. I don't miss anything. I know everything that's been going on. I really want to challenge everybody in this room, Mrs. Kennedy, whether it be the board or central administration, the teachers, the community members, to really, we all need to be better. We all need to be better. We need to set great examples for our young people in this district, and we need to move forward. We all have different opinions, we all have different ideas, and that's what makes this world go round. We can all agree to disagree on a lot of things, and I think over the past 2 years, we've all had a lot of disagreements. But I think the time now is to move forward as a community. Connecticut is an incredible place to work. I don't live here. A lot of my colleagues do live here. Their kids go through Connecticut, and it is truly, lack of better words, an incredible place to be. So I'm challenging everybody in this room, moving forward. We need to be better, all of us. Board, central administration, teachers, and the community members as well. We set great examples for our kids. Obviously, I'm here as a representative to about 180 teachers at the high school. I am urging all of you to please reconsider what was passed up here. I'm encouraging you all to please negotiate with our negotiation team. Everybody has worked so hard the past 2 years. We're just asking for a fair contract. That's all we're asking for, is to please go back to the table and sit down with the negotiation team. All right? Again, if anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to me. I'm at the high school. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak, and I wish you all a great night. Thank you.
Is there anything else that you want to go for? Feelings? Okay, at this point, if there's nothing else to be said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn. Motion. Second? All in favor?